So either making your way into that resting position that you need to make or want to make in order to find the most comfortable position that you can. Maybe taking up some space in your body, on your mat. Once the body starts to settle in, you might wiggle the shoulders slightly down away from the ears, maybe the shoulder blades toward one another, and then adding that gentle tuck of the chin towards the chest. We're adding support underneath the back of the head. And if it feels comfortable, just softening right down through the eyes, allowing the lids to meet, relaxing all the muscles of the eyes. And if it feels forced to close down through the eyes, then maybe just allowing all the muscles, the eyelids to be heavy and relaxed. Feeling the brow begin to smooth over, and the jaw begin to unhinge, maybe noticing the tongue just resting heavy in the lower palate. Feel the throat nice and soft and relaxed. Maybe noticing where your physical body makes contact to the surfaces beneath you, where there's space between your body and the floor. Maybe start to pay attention to where the body feels heavy. Maybe imagining the body sinking slightly in towards your mat, towards the earth, a little deeper. So just letting go of any holding in the body and just allowing the building, the earth to hold your entire being. Bringing a gentle awareness to sensations of the breath, the nose, the nasal passages. Maybe feeling the breath in the throat. Maybe visualizing the lungs expanding and contracting as you breathe in and out. And noticing what fills, what area or hollow of the body fills as you breathe in and contracts or softens back to center as you breathe out. And just being gentle with yourself if the mind's active and it's challenging to just focus on what's happening on your mat. And that's why it's called a practice. We just continually acknowledge what takes our attention away from the present moment without judgment, and then gently guide it back to how our body's feeling, how the breath is feeling, what the senses are picking up. And again, that breath being a very useful, powerful tool for us in our meditation, yoga practice. So continuing to feel the breath move in and out of the body, maybe equaling the length of the inhalations and the exhalations. So you might slightly adjust the breath to take slightly fuller inhales and exhales, or one or the other. And in addition to paying attention to the inhalations and the exhalations, just noticing those slight breath retentions, those pauses between the inhales and exhales. So even though they're different, thinking about the breath as being 4 parts rather than 2. And just noticing if the inhales roll into the exhales, if there's a short or longer pause as the breath begins to lengthen. And then relax any areas of tension in your physical body. With each exhale, the body growing a little heavier. And feeling those inhales and exhales even, but also easy and organic feeling. And then finally, if it doesn't require too much effort or doesn't feel forced, beginning to feel expansion and contraction of the abdomen as you breathe in and out. So maybe equally feeling the chest and the abdomen expanding and contracting. Even though we're not bringing the breath into our abdomen via activation of the diaphragm, that parachute-shaped muscle that fills the lower hollow of the rib cage. As the lungs expand, that diaphragm presses down, creating more space in the chest for the lungs to fill, creating that filling up sensation of the abdomen. And as we exhale, that parachute-shaped muscle flowing back up towards the lungs to help deflate or release the air out. Just resting easy in this with a gentle awareness. Feeling the torso expanding and contracting with breath. Fully arriving in your body, your mind for the 60-minute gentle Hatha practice today. Our ability to breathe with the diaphragm provides the opportunity to move out of that fight or flight state, sympathetic nervous system, into the parasympathetic nervous system, the state of rest and digest. And often many of us forget at some point or for many years how to breathe. Babies don't need to be taught. They're born breathing into their bellies, using that diaphragm. The crying helps. But as we carry on, our breath gets short. So taking 3 more deep breaths into the body here, maybe lengthening out even longer. Those inhales and exhales. And then we'll slowly begin to wiggle through the fingers and the toes. And maybe at some point gently rock the head from side to side. Good. Once that head comes back to center, let's bring a bend into the knees if they're not bent already. Bring the inner edges of the feet together and then allow the knees to drop away from one another. So the soles of the feet or the outer edges of the feet or the feet in some way may connect or just reach towards one another as those knees and thighs drop heavy out to the sides for an external rotation through the hips. Now, you're welcome to bring your blocks underneath the outer knees or thighs to support if you can't relax your body, if this feels too strained. That's a good option then to use blocks to support your body so it can begin to release. Maybe softening back through the eyes, making sure that neck feels long. We'll send the arms out to the side, maybe bending at the elbows And just rolling the shoulders down and towards one another once again, creating that opening around the chest as we also open up through those hip joints. With some awareness now in the chest and that expansion, the opening at the front of the body, take some time to inquire within as to what it is you need the most so you can set your intention for today's practice. And maybe you're setting an intention that you'll carry out throughout your day. Whatever it is, just repeating your I am statement to yourself a few times with conviction. And then again, fill the belly on your next inhalation and keep filling, 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 filling until you can't take any more air in. Pause and then part through the lips and let it go nice and slow with a sigh if it feels good. Good. Release the arms by sending them up overhead, and there can still be a bend in the elbows. We're still keeping the shoulders down away from the ears, so it may look kind of like a diamond shape, taking shape around the head, whatever's most comfortable. Try and allow the full back of the arms to make contact to the mat. And then keep the body where it is, other than sending the right knee back up towards the sky and then allowing that knee to fall over to meet the left and maybe taking the gaze over the right shoulder. And you could remove the block from the right side and place it between the thighs if that's helpful, or just pause here. Maybe you opt to continue with those diaphragmatic breaths or just breathing in your own way, regardless of how you choose to breathe here, and just allowing it to be as effortless and easy as possible while still nourishing your body with oxygen. Maybe the eyes are still closed. Using your next inhale, bring the head back to center, let the right knee reach back up, opening back up through the right thigh, and then we'll draw that left knee to a bend, so maybe the feet are still connected, and we'll exhale to allow the left knee to fall towards the right, taking the chin over the left shoulder. And again, just finding a place where you can relax, whether that's supported by props or just resting without props, whatever feels better in your body. Again, softening back through the face, releasing any tension there, maybe even the eyes, closing down. Good. Again, after an exhale, we'll bring the head back to center, followed by the left knee, and then we'll bring the right knee up to meet the left. Planting the feet about hip distance apart, let's push into the feet to lift the sacrum, the low back, place the back down, and then just gently rock those knees from side to side. So just really paying attention to how the hips are feeling, the inner thighs, the pelvic bowl, as well as the back body here. We'll get into the hips a little bit more. So once the knees are back at center, grounding into the left foot, picking up the right, flexing through the right heel and crossing the right ankle at the left thigh, and maintaining that flexion through the right heel, so the toes are drawing back towards the shin, will allow that right knee just to fall away from the body without force. And if this feels like enough for that right hip, you're welcome to stay here. You could place a block under the left foot, or if available, lift the left foot away from the mat and take a bind around the back of the left thigh or the front of the left shin. Just readjusting through the neck. We can relax through the left ankle as we maintain flexion through the right, and feel free here to add a little rock from side to side. If you can't comfortably reach, this is a great place to use a strap around the back of the thigh or the shin. Good. And if and when you do find stillness after a little bit of rocking, just seeing if you can align the left knee with the left hip. So not that it's stacked over top, but it's in the same plane, if that makes sense. So instead of that left knee dipping over toward the belly button or towards the right side of the body, see if you can stack it more in line with the left hip. Good. Let's take one more inhale. And as we exhale, keep the legs crossed, but release the left foot back down. Bring the arms wide to T. And on your next exhale, allow the legs to fall over to the left, maybe taking the chin back over to the right. So just coming into a bit of a more advanced supine twist if you want to restack the knees and uncross the legs if that feels better for the hips. Then, of course, modifying or adapting to suit how your body feels and on both sides as they may be different. Just take 2 more deep rounds of breath here. Good, bringing the head back, followed by the legs. Finally, we'll uncross the right leg from the left and maybe just add that little adjustment between sides of the rock of the knees and just paying attention to any differences between the right and left side of the body. And then with those feet hip distance apart, we'll stay grounded through the right foot, picking up the left, flexing the left heel as we cross the left ankle at the right thigh now. Just allowing the left thigh to fall away from the hip. You could place a block under the right foot if drawing the leg right in is too intense, or you can bring that thigh in and take your bind with a strap or the hands, just trying to relax the shoulders heavy. And then it takes our head, our mind to catch up a little bit sometimes. So just relaxing through that right ankle, maintaining flexion through the right heel. And this helps to protect the left knee. Maybe we rock a little from side to side. And if and when we do come to stillness for a few rounds of breath, just seeing if we can bring that right leg back over towards the right hip. Neck is long, face is relaxed, and that breath is just flowing easy and effortlessly. Good, let's take another big inhale. And exhale to release the bind, allowing the right foot to reconnect. Those arms can come wide if it's comfortable, and we'll exhale to allow the knees then to fall right. So they can stay in that figure 4 shape, again with the left heel still flexed, making, or rather taking the chin over the left shoulder, maybe eyes are still closed. And again, if it's uncomfortable for the hips, then uncross the legs and stack the knees, or take a different variation of this twist. Good. On your next inhale, we'll bring the head back to center, followed by the knees. We'll uncross the left leg from the right knee or thigh and just readjust our spine back to the center of the mat before drawing the knees in towards the chest, maybe taking the hands to the shins or the knees and just exploring some movement here by drawing circles, figure eights, whatever kind of movement feels good. Reversing again when it feels right in your body, or maybe counting it out to even both directions. Good, and as you're ready, come on back to stillness. On an exhale, squeeze the thighs in towards the abdomen. And then slowly release the feet to reconnect back down to the mat. We'll just push into the feet to shift the hips a couple inches to the left and make our way into a fetal position on the right side, using that arm as a pillow, taking a breath or two here, and then pressing that left or upper hand into the mat to transition our way up. We're going to come right over into the hands and knees from here. So again, if it's hard on the knees, you can roll your mat back a couple of times or add something underneath to support. And we're just going to start to stack the wrists below the shoulders and the knees below the hips and start to bring awareness to our spine nice and neutral. So we're not letting the ribs drop, we're not rounding, we're just finding that neutral spine with those natural curves. Spread the fingers nice and wide and claw those fingertips into the mat. See if you can internally rotate the arms so the inner elbow creases face one another and those elbows remain soft, tucking the chin, soften the eyes or close them down, and take 2 rounds of breath. Feeling that gentle engagement of the core to help stay in that neutral position of the spine and pelvis. Good, and on your next exhale, drop the head between the arms, round the spine towards the sky as you tuck the tail. Still micro bend in the elbows, and as we inhale, the elbows stay soft as we let the abdomen open up towards the mat, the chin and tail slightly lifting, and starting to add some flexion and extension of the spine or moving in a different way. So feeling free to move your body in a way that it's asking to move. Feeling that front body open up as we drop the belly and feeling the back body open up as we round the spine. After an exhale, we'll meet back with that neutral spine. We'll bring the right palm slightly in towards the right, just about a centimeter or 2, as well as the right knee towards the left. That core engaged, we're going to send the right, or rather left leg back, flexing through the heel, toes pointing down. And just notice if the ribs start to drop towards the mat. And if so, lift the rib cage away from the mat, engaging the core. Now, option to just stay flexed and send that leg back or touch the toes down if it's too intense in your body, or option to send the right arm out overhead, palm facing the wide left edge of the mat. So finding your breath here, making sure you're not holding it, keeping that core engaged and that neutral spine. Now, option just to stay here or send the right arm out to the right and the left leg out to the left. Taking 2 rounds of breath. Next inhale, come back in line. Good. Exhale, drawing elbow to opposite knee. Inhaling to lengthen out. Nice and controlled with your breath and this movement coming from that strong engaged core. Try to claw into those left fingers, keeping that left elbow nice and soft. Good. The next time you extend the arm and leg on that inhale, pause and use the exhale to release the right palm and the left knee down. You can pick up the left wrist and roll it out a few times. You could rest here. You could draw circles with the hips or just come back into that tabletop position. This time, the left knee coming slightly in as well as the left palm, and we'll start by flexing through the right heel and sending the leg out behind. So trying to keep it in line with the hip once again, or hip height. And then option to send the left arm out front, palm facing the right wide edge of the mat now. The chin is tucked, that neck still long. If you want more support, you could curl the left toes, or for more challenge, keep the top of the foot flat. Finding your breath, and then sending the right leg to the right and the left arm to the left. Coming back on an inhale, and exhale, opposite knee to elbow. Moving with breath. Nice and controlled and strong in your body. Next inhale, send that arm and leg back out long, and we'll exhale to lower down. Good, let's bring the knees wide, big toes together. Sink the hips back towards the heels. Grab your blocks here and place them about shoulder distance apart on the mat. You may need to adjust them as you come down. There's no one size fits all, as we're all a little different lengths. And then we'll start to bring the forearms to those blocks if it's available. And you can drop the head right down or take a temple to the mat. Wiggle in through the rib cage, just really settling the front of the body, the belly, the rib cage, the chest down to the mat. If you don't like the blocks underneath, of course, move them out of the way. It's just an option to open up a little bit more through the upper body. An option here to bend the elbows, bringing the palms to the back of the skull or neck or that space between the shoulders. I encourage you to relax back down through the eyes or close them right down and take 3 or 4 deep rounds of breath here. Each exhale, the body just melting, letting go a little more heavier towards the earth. Good. Pressing your next exhale all the way out, and then we'll bring the head back to center. And we're going to keep the right arm where it is. We're going to release the left arm, flip the palm up, and thread it underneath the right arm. Wiggle that left shoulder down away from the ear and come down onto the left temple after we've thread the left arm underneath the right. Again, you can remove that block if this doesn't feel good in your body, or just settle in for a couple more rounds of breath, trying to really relax through that left shoulder. Again, pressing your next exhale slowly out, knowing you can stay a little longer or come out sooner in any of these poses today. We'll lift the head, release that left arm back to the block or to the mat, thread the right arm through the left, keep wiggling that hand away as we release the right shoulder down, then the right temple, and then really focus on relaxing through the right shoulder. Taking deep, slow rounds of breath. After your next exhale, lifting the head, releasing that right arm. You can bring the hands to the blocks, and again, you can set them off to the side. You can draw yourself up to that table pose using the blocks underneath the hands. This is great for anyone who has a hard time in your downward dog, especially through the hamstrings, the back of the legs. We're going to curl through those toes, sink the hips back towards the heels, and then lift those hips up and allow the heels to start to release down to the mat, letting the head come between the arms and the shoulders broaden away from each other. So there's a broadness of the shoulders, lots of space between ears and shoulders. And again, move the blocks any point in time or keep them there. We'll start to pedal out through the legs, maybe adding a turn of the head from side to side. Just waking up through the hamstrings here. And then we'll land in that downward dog. The knees are soft, the tail is lifted, the head is between the upper arms. Give it a little rock or nod or movement, just releasing any tension through the neck. Take 2 more deep rounds of breath. Maybe sighing out. And then deepen the bend in the knees, lift the chin, and begin to walk the hands or feet towards the hands. Good. You can set those blocks off to the side or use them in your forward fold. Let's bring those feet a little wider, toes pointing forward, and take a full forward fold if it's available. So the crown of the head dangling down. Maybe the hands connect to the floor or the block or the feet, or maybe you take hands to opposite elbows and just cradle that head as you really surrender the upper body over the lower body. Bringing awareness to your foundation, feel grounded through all four corners of each foot. So we're not back in the heels or up on the toes, but we have that solid stability through our foundation so we can really focus on that surrendering of the upper body, as well as the neck and the head, heavy. Good, as you're ready, come on back to stillness. Take another inhale and let it go. We'll release the arms if they're binded. We'll bring the hands to thighs, tuck the chin, and slowly begin to press our way up. Allowing the head to come up last. Grab a sip of water if you need one, and we'll meet in Tadasana at the top of the mat. So finding your feet about hip distance apart, just rolling the shoulders down and back. Maybe the palms flip forward. Take those tension relieving breaths anytime you need them. Or just long, slow inhales and exhales if you feel the breath becoming shallow or jagged, smoothing it out. Good, let's begin to flow with breath. We'll sweep those arms out and up as we breathe in. Knees stay soft as we reach up, maybe looking up. And just using your exhale to slowly lower hands down to heart center. Maybe softening the knees a little more as we sweep out and up, looking up, reaching up, filling up, and exhaling hands to heart. So just practicing our coordination of breath with movement one more time. Good, let's move into half Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, reach out and up, sun salutation. Exhale, arms can come wider through heart center as we bow forward, keeping the micro bend in the knees as the crown hangs heavy. And on our next inhale, we'll use that to come up to a halfway lift. We'll use our exhale again to fully surrender with those soft knees and equal grounding down through four corners of the feet. And then we'll deepen the bend in the knees and root to rise. Send those arms out to the side, fill up with energy. Again, bringing hands to heart on the exhale. It's getting the blood flowing a little bit more. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Move at your own pace if I'm going too fast or slow. Exhale, folding forward. And then deepen the bend in the knees and root to rise. Before again, exhaling, hands to heart. So one more half salutation. Inhaling, volcano. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, strong core here. Exhaling, surrender, Uttanasana, forward fold. And then deepen the bend in the knees, gather some energy in this big sweep. And exhale, hands to heart. Full Surya Namaskar A now, sun salutation. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, forward fold. And if you want to continue with the half, go ahead. Inhale, rise up halfway. Exhale, soften the knees, plant the palm, step the right foot back, followed by the left. You can stay in the high plank or drop the knees. And we're going to pause, engaging the core, shoulders over wrists, elbows soft. And if you're in a high plank, maybe rolling the heels over the toes. Slow your breath down, no matter if you're in high plank or low plank, challenging your own body here. One more inhale. And exhale, we'll release the knees, thighs, hips, chest, and chin. Flatten through the feet, draw the shoulders back, core engaged. Inhale, baby cobra. And exhale, lower down. Again, inhale, baby cobra, making sure the core is engaged. Try to relax the glutes just a little. And then option to lift the hands away from the mat. Take 3 more breaths. Chin is tucked, neck is long. 1 more inhale. Exhale over the palms, chest, and chin. Curl through the toes, inhale to all fours. And exhale, pressing those hips up and back and finding your upside down V, downward dog. And slowly pedal it out, giving the head a little rock from side to side. Landing in downward dog. Lift the chin slightly and walk the feet towards the hands. Using the last bit of the exhale to fold back forward, Uttanasana, crown heavy. Strong core, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. However you'd like to come up, maybe deepening the bend in the knees and rooting to rise, sweeping up, looking up. And exhaling, hands to heart. Pause here for a big breath in. And let it go. Good. Let's release the hands down to the hips now. And again, find our mountain stance. With the knees nice and soft, we're going to stay grounded through the left foot. And we're going to take a step back through the right. Now all the toes are going to stay pointing forward as we're moving into a high lunge. You want to try to stack the front knee over the ankle. Okay, and if you prefer warrior 2 feet, you can certainly drop down onto the sole of the right foot on a slight outward angle. So just tuck those ribs in, soften through the back knee slightly. Feel everything come back into a neutral position. And then if you want to add the arms, flip the palms out and use your breath in to sweep them out and up with control. And relax those shoulders down. If you turn the pinky slightly in, you'll feel those shoulders and elbows soften. Good. Finding your breath in drishti, or that focal point to gaze at, embracing any messiness of it all. Good. Take 1 more big breath in. Exhale, turn the palms forward and drop the elbows down to about 90 degrees. Again, the ribs are tucked. Let's feel ourselves rise up on the inhale, and as we exhale, take a little baby back bend. So the chest stays open, maybe lifting the gaze slightly. Good, take 1 more inhale here. And we'll exhale just to bring the head back to center, stacking the shoulders back over the hips. Take an inhale back at center now. And then we'll exhale to release the hands down to frame the front foot. Now you can wiggle the right foot back a little. We want to try to plant the right foot down, so you might be drawing it in a little closer towards the left, but make sure the right foot's not behind the left. Okay, so we're coming to an intense hamstring stretch. If you want a block, or it feels better to have a block, you can bring it in front of the left foot. Maybe inhale, lengthen, lifting away from the leg, and exhale, just softening, making sure you're not forcing a stretch through the left hamstring, as eventually it will lead to an injury. Just welcoming a nice gentle stretch in through the back of the left leg. Good, let's take 1 more big inhale and let it go in your own way. Deepen the bend now in the left knee and bring the right leg up to meet the left at the top of the mat, landing back in Uttanasana. And just give a little sway. Good, come on back to stillness. You can bring the hands to the thighs to support your back body, especially if you're working on strengthening your core for that added support, or just ragdoll the upper body to come all the way back up to stand. Good, find Tadasana. Ground down through all 4 corners of each foot. And then we'll take those hands back to the hips. This time we'll stay grounded through the right foot. And as you're ready, take a step back, coming onto the ball of the left foot. Okay, so even though the feet are separate from the top and bottom of the mat, we want to make sure we still have the legs hip distance apart, so the left foot's not behind the right. And then soften that back knee. Notice everything coming back into alignment. The right knee stacked over the ankle. And then release those arms. If you want to add them, sweep them out and up. And then relax the shoulders down. Those ribs are tucked in, just finding your drishti, your breath and your balance here. Good, one more inhale. We'll exhale, flip the palms forward and draw the elbows down. Again, ribs are tucked in, neutral spine. And then we'll inhale, draw up through the core, and exhale, gently lift the chest, maybe the chin. Okay, so the lower body stays stable as we start to open up a little across the chest. Breath staying smooth and even. On our next exhale, we'll come back to neutral. Take one more breath in here. And exhale, begin to lower the hands down to frame the right foot. Okay, so a micro bend at least in the right knee, or maybe it's something deeper, that's okay. Drawing the right hip back if you feel it jutting forward, and see if you can scoot that left foot in slightly towards the top of the mat. Still distance between the front and back foot, but just a little bit more so the full foot can connect to the mat if possible. And maybe you're just staying still, maybe more static, maybe you're lifting on the inhales and bowing a little more on the exhales. Again, we just want to welcome in a gentle stretch, not force, or we're just going to get the opposite of what we want. We want to build flexibility and lengthen some of those muscles and create space in our bodies. Forcing is not going to help. Just really feeling that, again, gentle stretch through the back of the right leg, maybe up into the glute and hip. Good. After your next exhale, deepen the bend in the right knee and then allow the left foot to come up to meet the right. And once again, find your forward fold, maybe gently rocking from side to side. Maybe you're modifying in some way. If it doesn't feel good to bring the head lower than the heart and the hips, then by all means, maybe bend the knees and bring the forearms to the thighs. And we're going to be moving into Malasana from here, so our squatting position. So if you need your blocks, just getting them nice and close. What we can do is start to widen the feet, turning the toes out so the heels are on the edges of the mat maybe, and then lower the bottom down. Okay, so again, you can stack blocks under the bottom. You can come up to a wall, whatever is most comfortable. And see if you can anchor the tail down heavy as we lengthen the crown up. Maybe bringing the palms or hands to the heart. Keeping that chin nice and tucked and softening the shoulders. Even though the arms are active, maybe the thumbs make contact to the sternum or chest. Relax all the muscles of the face. If you need to move or move in and out of this pose, by all means do. It can be very challenging for many bodies, probably most bodies. So this is a great one to practice up against the wall if you're working on your Malasana or squat pose, with, of course, support underneath the bottom. So if that's one that you want to work on a little more at home, really supporting your body in this pose if you're taking some time here. Let's just take 2 more rounds of breath. And then release those hands down. We'll lift through those hips, turning the toes back towards the front of the mat, heel toeing them in about hip distance apart. And our final forward fold from the standing position, maybe adding a little sway. Good, and then let's walk the hands and feet away from one another to find our downward dog. No matter where you are on your mat, it's gonna feel different if you're used to coming into down dog in one way. So definitely a different perspective, and maybe pedal it through the legs once you arrive, and just releasing some tension from those hips after that deep opener. Good, and then once you find stillness in your down dog, you can soften the knees to lower your bottom down, or you can bend the knees, lift the chin, and practice hips high, hopping the feet to the top of the mat, maybe crossing at the ankles and lowering your bottom down. Good. Now we're going to use our blocks here to come into fish pose. So if you have a fish practice and you don't want to use props, you're welcome to just skip the props. Or we're going to bring one block vertically on the mat, and this will be between the shoulder blades, around more towards the upper back, okay, but you'll find what works best for you with adjusting. And then that second block, we're going to cross in a horizontal position at the same height to start. We can always adjust the heights. It's just going to depend on how it feels for us, and that will support our head. So with the knees bent, just scoot your bottom away from the blocks, maybe make it down to the forearms. And again, I can't tell you exactly where this block's going to rest because we're all different lengths, but mine's below the shoulder blades around the top of the lumbar spine. Then my elbows are going to come wide so I can release the back of the head to the block, second block, and then let those arms just rest down at the sides. Maybe you can start to feel the shoulder blades just kind of rounding over the edges of the block. Tuck the chin, or bring that block to a higher stand by turning it on its side. Now you can keep the knees bent if this is an intense pose for you. We're not going to be holding for very long, but of course feel free to come out if it's too long in your body. And if it feels okay for the back body, you can experiment with lengthening out through the legs and zipping up through the thighs. So bringing the thighs together and maybe pointing through the toes. Relaxing into the back body. Maybe slide the hands further away from the body. Again, relax through the eyes, the brow, the jaw, the tongue, the throat. Again, just noticing the breath. You might require a little more effort to continue with full inhales and exhales here. You might feel a little more resistance as we really open the front line of the body here. Great pose to practice in some of these more humid times, humid weather, creating a little bit more space in the chest cavity. And if the eyes are still open, try to close them down for these last couple rounds of breath. Can take some time to get comfortable with closing down through the eyes. But considering our sense of sight brings in 75% of the data that our senses pick up, closing down through the eyes, then there's just less for us to become distracted about. And then just allow this last round of breath to be as full as you can, in and out. And if the legs are extended, we'll begin to bend back in through the knees. Planting those feet. Maybe we bring the left arm all the way over to the right to remove the blocks from underneath the head and the back body. And we're going to bring a block with us as we lower the upper body down now. We're going to pick up through the hips and release that block underneath the low back or where the pockets of our jeans would be. So setting up for a supported bridge pose. Maybe we roll the shoulders in a little more. Maybe the arms rest effortlessly at the sides, or maybe bring them wide or overhead towards the back wall. So bridge is an inversion. We're just gonna, again, settle heavy into the spine and the back body, making sure the neck feels long, maybe again, relaxing down through the eyes. Or if you want more of an inversion, we can start to bend the knees deeper and send the legs up towards the sky. And if you're taking waterfall or those legs up the wall variation, you're welcome to add the arms as well. And just slowing your breath down. Noticing any sensations that you feel in your body here, from the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the legs, the arms, the palms of the hands, and the soles of the feet. Noticing that gentle rock of the breath and the body. Good. If the legs are extended towards the sky, let's just flex through the heels and point through the toes a few times, or draw circles through the ankles. And if you're in bridge, maybe you just lift one leg and do one at a time. And again, if the legs are up, we'll start to bend through the knees, allowing the heels to drop towards the sit bones before releasing the feet back down to the mat. Once we're in that supported bridge, we'll take another breath in and out here. And then together we'll press into those feet to lift the hips and slide that block out from underneath, releasing our spine back down nice and slow. And once the tail or sacrum reconnects, just adding that little rock of the knees from side to side. Just noticing that kind of foreign sensation of the low back now that we've removed the block, and feel grounded back down through your body. And let's heel toe the feet to the width of the mat, toes still pointing forward. Walk the heels back a little. The arms can come out to T, and as we exhale, allow the legs to fall to the right. So we're in a wide-legged supine twist with both shoulders grounded. The gaze can come, or rather chin if the eyes are closed, over the left shoulder. And there's one more option here if this doesn't feel like quite enough. And that is to pick up the right foot and place it on the outside of the left knee, and then just allow that right leg to fall back down. It just gives you a little bit of a personal assist for a little more of a deeper stretch, but only if it feels good for you. And just lengthening those breaths out if they're shallow or jagged, or allowing the breath just to flow on its own without any effort at all. And then this last breath, deeper than the previous breaths, filling up a little more and releasing a little more complete. Releasing your bind if you have it. And then bring the head and knees back to center. And if you want any adjustments between sides, go ahead and welcome them in. whether it's a rock of the knees or a lift of the sacrum and a place back down. Again, bring the feet wide, walk the heels slightly back, and on our next exhale, we'll allow the legs to fall left, taking the chin over to the right. And just relaxing any areas of the body that don't need to be held. Maybe the legs, the hips feel just right, or maybe you take that outer left edge of the foot and place it on the outside of the right thigh and just feel that little personal assist with that bind. Again, if the breath's shallow or jagged, maybe smooth out this last round of breath to be long and rhythmic. And after that final breath, bringing the head back to center, releasing the left leg from the right, drawing the knees back up. And we'll just heel toe those feet back into about hip distance apart. Maybe start with the sway of the knees from side to side. Again, massaging that low back. And if that's enough, you can just start to make your way into Shavasana. If you want a little more of counter pose, drawing the knees back in towards the chest, taking the hands to the shins or knees, and just adding any movement. Maybe again, it's those figure eight motions in the opposite direction, or maybe circles in the same direction, both knees moving the same way. Reversing as it, feels right. And maybe pausing just to squeeze the knees or thighs in on the exhale, or if you want to add a little more extra core and tense up before relaxing, use your next exhale to draw the nose to the knees and the knees to the nose. Squeeze everything in like a tight little ball. Still holding the breath, or still breathing rather, not holding the breath. And then we'll fill up one last time, and we'll exhale to begin to make our way back down to the mat. Once the feet reconnect, decide if you want something underneath those knees or send the legs out about hip distance apart or mat width apart. Just allowing the feet to drop away from one another if they will. The arms follow, drawing the shoulders in and spreading the arms further away from the body. And if it's available, the palms turning upward before finally adding the tuck of the chin to make sure the neck is nice and long and spacious and neutral. As we inhale, let's squeeze the hands into fists, crunch the toes towards the balls of the feet, draw the navel in and tense up as many muscles as you can. Squeeze the glutes and the core, crunch up the muscles of the face. Keep breathing in and holding that breath. And as you exhale, release the body. Feel those sensations of the body progressively continuing to relax and unhinge and unclench. Allowing there to be space again between the upper and lower jaw. Relaxing again the brow, the eyes. Relaxing the jaw and the tongue. Relaxing the shoulders, the arms, the hands, and the fingers. Softening the hollow of the throat. And relax through the chest, the shoulders. Through the rib cage, the upper abdomen, the lower abdomen, the mid back and the low back, heavy and warm and relaxed. Feeling the sacrum grounded, the pelvis, the hips, the thighs, the lower legs, the knees, the heels, the soles of the feet, and the toes relaxed. Just feeling your whole body together. The head, the arms, the torso, the legs, the hands, the feet, the fingers, the toes, the whole body relaxed. Whole body. Just coming back to feel your whole body resting in the position that it's in. And when it feels right, even if it's not in unison with the group, start to bring movements back into your body. Maybe starting with the fingers and the toes, rocking the head from side to side, maybe stretching the body long or squeezing the body in. Gradually making your way back to a fetal position on one side or the other. And when it feels right, coming on up to find yourself in that seated position, grounding down through your sitting bones, growing tall through your crown, spine. And if you'd like to join me, bringing the hands together at the heart, allowing the thumbs to connect to the sternum once again. Take a nice big breath in and a long, slow breath out. The light within me sees and honors the light within each of you. Namaste.